A vintage model traction engine restoration. This one is part 17. Fitting the steam whistle, it finally arrived. This is the last job on this vintage traction engine. As you can see, in the top of the cylinder block, next to the safety valve, is a blanking plug. To start off with, I need to remove this, and here one more time, as always, I'm using my Barco spanner, and yes, it is an adjustable spanner. Why do I use adjustable spanners? Most of them are not so good, but the Barco ones are excellent. And in the end, it's much quicker than rummaging around in a box of spanners for the correct size one. It should be a simple job to just fit the whistle into this hole. I buy these excellent little PM Research whistles from Phil at Forest Classics in the UK. I've put the Forest Classics web address on screen. You can also see the address of PM Research on the package. These whistles are very stylish, but there are two minor problems with them. In order to fit the whistle to the steam chest, I'm going to remove this safety valve. This is a bit strange. I can't use a spanner on this safety valve, but I can use a pair of pliers, and this is making me cringe just watching it. Normally I would use a small strip of brass around the top of a part like this, but looking at the state of the safety valve, it's a bit too late for that. When I put it back, I will show you a quick tip that often reverses the damage that's been done to parts removed with pliers. And don't forget, this is a sympathetic restoration. It's a very old traction engine, and this is the way I received it. The end of it is very chewed up, and if I remachine it, well, it's not going to be original. It's time, I think, to try out the whistle using some compressed air. Initially the whistle blew okay, and then it started not blowing okay, and it got worse. There is a problem with these whistles, and it's a very simple one. Here's the clip in slow motion, including the audio. The problem is, by handling it in the way I'm doing, I have my hand against the bell that stops it resonating, but it also moves it out of alignment with the slot all the way around the valve. The best thing to do is to fit the whistle and then realign the bell. The double steam union that I screwed into the base of the valve would only screw in a couple of turns. That's because ME threads that we use in England, like 1/4x40 for instance, is different to the 1/4x40 thread used in the USA. The profile of the thread and the pitch of the thread is very slightly different, but just like the whistle bell problem, there's a very simple solution. And I'll show you the solution very shortly. First of all though, I need to show you this. You see where the hole is to let the steam into the whistle? If I screw the double steam union in place as it is, it will partially block the hole. So I took it over to the lathe and I screwed a union nut onto the steam union. Then I clamped the union nut in the chuck, and I'm going to shorten this union so it doesn't go quite as far up inside the valve. Really, I suppose you don't need to use a nut in the chuck like I'm doing here. You could just put the thread in the chuck and lightly hold it. But if you do that and you're a bit heavy-handed, the whole thing will fall out of the chuck and mangle up. So that's why generally when I'm modifying fittings, I screw them into the corresponding union nut. And in no time at all, the double union is shortened. I'm using a file to slightly round the end so it fits easily into the steam chest. Health and safety warning: when filing in the lathe, especially so close to the chuck, make sure that the file has a handle and keep your fingers out of the way. The next part of the job is to rethread the hole in the valve. For this I'm using an ME type 1/4x40 tap. And this means that the shortened double union should just easily screw into the base of the valve. Before doing that, of course, there's the obligatory Loctite 542. This is hydraulic sealant, thread sealant. I need to tighten up this double union, and I thought I would try this very small spanner sent to me by a viewer. It's really a keyring, but it sort of works. And once the union was tight in the base of the valve, it was time to screw the entire whistle assembly into the hole in the steam chest. But there's a bit of a problem. The handle is facing in the wrong direction. It needs to face the rear of the traction engine. How do I get out of this problem? I've covered this a few times in other videos. I'm going to use some shim washers. I buy shim washers from Blackgates Engineering, and they're almost essential for the job that I do. Generally, being an optimistic sort of a person, my glass is always half full. I've fitted a washer and some Loctite 542 to the thread, and when I tighten up the whistle valve, it's still in the wrong place. So that particular shim washer is a bit too thick. I know, I'll try an even thicker one. This is a bit better, but it's still in the wrong place. I've edited this video because it did take rather a long time to get the right combination of shim washers. This is not normally the case, but it was in this one. Finally, with the reapplication of Loctite 542, I get the correct combination of shim washers and tighten the whistle valve in place. And once the Loctite 542 sets, it should hold it firmly in place. It won't vibrate loose. And also, it shouldn't leak steam at the junction between the whistle valve base and the steam chest. Time now to test the installation using my compressed air line. Because my fingers aren't touching the bell of the whistle, it's not too bad, but when I run the engine the pressure drops. It doesn't blow quite so well. If you slacken off the nut that's in between the bell and the valve, you can adjust the height of the bell and set it to an optimum position for low pressure running. In this clip I'm going to demonstrate this. I've slackened off the lock nut and now I can withdraw the entire shaft from the valve. I've moved the lock nut one turn on the central shaft, and here I'm refitting the whistle bell to see if there's any improvement. On this particular whistle the lever felt a bit stiff. This is not normally the case, so I applied some oil to the linkage. I haven't tightened the lock nut yet, but if it's successful, all I need to do is nip up the lock nut onto the valve. Time now once again to connect the air line to the safety valve hole. That's definitely not a good position, it's made the thing sound worse. I tried some different positions till I found one that worked. This one has the bell lowered slightly. You can hear the difference. It's a lot louder. The increased sound pressure level, or SPL, is overloading the microphone and the camera now. To finish the job, I just need to refit this safety valve, and here once again I'm using a pair of pliers, but I'm using this special pair of pliers that I've had for years, and although there are some patterns on the jaws, at the end of the pliers they're not as vicious as the ones on the rounded part. So what I'm doing, apart from tightening the valve in position, I'm letting the pliers slip very slightly. I've got some pressure on the pliers, but I'm just letting them slip around the top, which effectively cleans up the long-term damage around the top of the safety valve. And here's the finished job. I'm sure you will agree this whistle looks quite nice. It sort of fits with the traction engine, and it's much more in scale with the engine than the one that was fitted when I first received the engine for the modifications. And that's it, the end of the series. The engine is now awaiting collection by the owner. Today is the 25th of December 2020, Christmas morning, and as the COVID-19 restrictions are still firmly in place, it's not possible for the owner to pick it up yet. So here it is, currently covered up on my workbench. I think I'll move it into the house. I'm running out of space to do other jobs. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all my viewers a very Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.